Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach again. So, one of the more wonderful and frustrating classes that I took as an undergraduate was a class on poetry. And it was a double type of class. We studied poetry. We had to read poetry from different time periods and different cultures, but we also had to write our own poetry. Often imitating the styles of the different time periods that we were covering. Now, all of us found the free verse versions much more accessible. E. Cummings and others that wrote without concern of rhyme, without concern of rhythm, without concern of meter. Sure, all you had to do was come up with something you wanted to say, make it a few stanzas, add in a few metaphors or similes, and your homework was done. But when we had to write something that was in iambic pentameter, when we had to write something that followed a strict rhythm or meter or rhyme structure, I'll tell you, the homework took a lot longer to accomplish. And we had many discussions in the class of why in the world would people have ever chained themselves to this way of expressing themselves? Why bind themselves to an arbitrary decision of rhythm, meter, and rhyme when they are trying to express whatever is in their heart? Well, the teacher gave the usual answer, which was, well, that's just what was considered beautiful and elegant at the time. And of course, that is a very good and compelling reason. We still follow musical and artistic motifs in every medium, simply because we happen to find them lovely, not necessarily because they are easy or objectively beautiful by any other criteria. But the teacher also suggested another explanation that has stuck with me, and which I think can help us understand not only the service that we celebrate each day, but also the Seder that we just celebrated over the last 2 days. He explained that by locking ourselves in to a requirement of rhythm, rhyme, or meter, that we were obligating ourselves to work harder to find a means of expression. He said anybody can simply, his words, vomit onto a page whatever they think is in their heart, whatever mood they think they are in. But when you stop, hold your pen at ready, and think about what you want to say, and then force yourself to put it into a particular shape or form, then you are forced to investigate those thoughts and those feelings much more deeply. Finding the right word that captures your mood and fits the form of the poetry style at the same time will often result not only in the beautiful, elegant, pleasing forms of classical poetry, but will also result in a cleaner understanding within yourself of what it is exactly you're trying to say. Because that limitation forces us to clarify, to distill down to the bone exactly what it is we wish to say if we are going to make it fit into that form. During the Seder, you may have noticed that there are many classical phrases, and they may seem arbitrary, they may seem limiting, they may seem like we are bound up in the words of the Haggadah, every bit as we might have been bound up by the actual slavery of Egypt. But our sages did not institute these forms, these structures to Haggadah to make us feel limited, but instead, through using them to find means of expression that would be stronger than a simple stream of consciousness. If any one of us were asked to simply recall the Exodus without any guide or structure, without any expectation of the points that needed to be hit and the methodology in which we would express them, well, then we might come to be at a loss for words. Or we might come up with some words, but would they be truly measured and considered? Would they reach the depths of the story of the Exodus? Would they move us spiritually the way the words of the Haggadah can? My argument, of course, is that no. While there is plenty of room for that spontaneous interpretation, the free verse recognition of what the Exodus means to me, by using the structure of the Seder to give a form to that expression, we are able to find feelings and thoughts within ourselves that would otherwise lie dormant without that encouragement. And so too, through our Siddur and through all of the rituals of Judaism, by having this structure, by having a framework, it forces us to think a little bit harder. It forces us to feel a little more deeply. It forces us to clarify, what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to recognize Adonai? What does it mean to celebrate Shabbat? By asking those questions of ourselves, by guiding ourselves in these answers, we come to a deeper, richer, and certainly more freeing expression of our faith. So as we go through our service this evening, and as you prepare for every other service, including the Seder next year, do not begrudge the rhyme, the meter, the form of the Haggadah or any of our other aspects of Judaism. See in them a beautiful ladder allowing us to reach greater heights. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. One such ladder begins on page 39a, as we begin the cycle of blessings that accompany the Shema, giving us our touchstone meditation upon creation, upon God's loving gift of Torah, upon our reciprocal love to God and recognizing God in our life, and then our reflections on redemption and the great peace that God has offered to us. All of these organized very carefully, very powerfully, so that the service will always find a way to move us if we will apply that little extra effort to find in the structure of these words the deeper meaning that is waiting to be found.